I want to inform the audience that some of us were sitting on the table and we've decided we're going to have a lot of fun. And you are all invited. But first, welcome everyone. It's been a pleasure reading about you. I've met three of you way, way, way earlier in my life, and we will reflect on that. But this is a very important conversation. I'm very glad you're a part of this evening and this conversation. And I will just begin with the context of what are we really trying to talk about. Philanthropy has changed just like the world has changed. Digital infrastructure has brought a huge dynamic into how people operate. While we keep talking about digital connectivity, the one thing that we don't realize as people who have access to digital infrastructure is that sometimes if we are not careful, we can widen the divide between people when we misapply digital infrastructure. An iPad in the hands of my child and the iPad in the hands of a rural child does very different things. And if not navigated well and if not sensitized, it can lead to more disaster than access and improvement. So all of the people here are in some shape or form involved in the giving and the enablement in a way that digital infrastructure supports us. So we're just going to have this conversation around us, and I'm really eager to begin. So I will really start with Zareen. Zarina, I want to also give you a little trivia that you were the first philanthropist I heard after I joined this sector 13 years ago, apart from Vidya. And it was amazing to see someone like you would mean, like, you had options to spend your time in, and you were very, very keen about Raigad and what Swadesh could do. And it's a decade now, and a lot has happened. So it would be great to hear from you on, the last decade. What is it going through now with what we're calling the digital age, and where do you see this going?
So I think the digital part always has to come next. It is not anything except a tool in the hands of a human being. So the first thing we always need to think about, Nagma, when we think about digital, is first we need to think of the human being. And even before that, and especially in today's world, I am actually deeply concerned about the use of technology, about the advent of AI and its applications. I'm deeply, deeply concerned. And I need to start with that because above all, the first thing as human beings, so many of us, I heard you say, some of my favorite words is, we're here to make the world a better place. And we're here to make the world a better place by inculcating human values. If we don't talk about values and we start talking about digital, what kind of technology are we going to have? If AI today is allowed to teach our children, is allowed to make decisions about defense, is allowed to make decisions on whether to operate on a person health-wise or not, without an ethical basis, I don't know what direction this world will go into, and I'm deeply, deeply concerned about it. And I think as human beings, especially as philanthropists, because we spend a lot of our time imagining the world the way we want to see it. Right? That's what we do. We imagine a better world. We imagine a world which is equitable, where our children are happy. We even ask questions like, what is happiness? I mean, the first question Ronnie and I asked is, what is poverty? Okay, we say we want to create a model that enables 1 million lives to be lifted out of poverty. So the first question we asked is, what is poverty? And we came up with 2 answers. One is the material poverty that you see around you, and there you apply all your digital things to map and check. But the real poverty, what we try to eliminate is what we call mental poverty, Nagma. And probably when I met you, I said these words, and I said we'll do rural empowerment, but actually, can I confess that we made so many mistakes? And I have 3 wonderful members of my team who've been with me. Our CEO, Mangesh, who's also on our board now. And we have Rahul and Tushar. We all went through this realization that we were becoming a charity-based organization. And we were not empowering people. And we went through a massive, massive introspection. At that time, we were 350 people. And we paused. We pressed a pause button. It was terribly painful. We had donors who we had to say, hold on. We want to introspect, reflect, and change. And today, the model that we have developed, and I'm coming to the digital part in a second, the model that we have developed is one of community-driven change. Every village that we work in, retrospectively or proactively after the year 2017, had to have a community of volunteers who came forward, allowed themselves to be trained for 1 full year before we spent the first rupee in that village. Now, I know it sounds impossible, but it's not. And this is not the place to go into it in great detail. Now you put into the hands of these empowered volunteers, highly trained. They're from the community, they're trained in, I cannot even list the things. We train them in each and everything that we do, whether it's water or sanitation or health or education or livelihoods, okay? We have certain rules, so they have to be trained. Now into those hands, we put digital assets. And the multiplier effect, and now we're starting to do that. Okay, now I can't say it's been so successful, but I have highly empowered 11,000 community volunteers, reaching out to 500,000 people every day. Every day. And now the time has come to put digital tools into the hands of these people and see what can be done. And I think in another 10 years, because we have to be patient, I think we will have something quite magical.
You make such an important point that before we think digital, there has to be a basic preparedness. We have to think of who's using it. Is this the right time? Is this the right place? Is this the right tool? And only then can we really think of applying digital tools.
Correct. The essential word is responsibility.
Yeah.
We have to be responsible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll come to Uma with this because I think, Uma, you're also doing like a range of work. There are many things. Like I read Pharma Pathshala, Swarna Bharat Trust. Then there's your work with Hyderabad 10K Foundation. Have you found a similar learning for yourself also, that the basic preparedness for something digital needs to be done? Or what has been your experience? Or does this change when you look at different stakeholders?
What we need in basic, of course, the emotion is the same, for giving, the heart and changing the society in a positive way. I think that emotion is common everywhere. But when we are taking forward the philanthropy in nowadays, digitalization is very much required, is what I learned. Mainly we are skilling the people in a pharma sector. We had chosen skilling in pharma because it is relevant to the place where we live in. Hyderabad is being a pharma capital, and the industry need skilled people and the people need jobs. That's the reason we chose pharmaceuticals as a training program, and the modules what we have prepared for that is which is industry specific, and we taught them the skills in such a way. There are tutors from industry also, they are coming and teaching, but virtual reality, because they going and working in a pharmaceutical company immediately, it is not possible. It is just impossible how much we teach. So we had created virtual reality platform, and through that they are learning and they are industry ready. How much we do practical, how much we do pilot plants and all, unless they are exposed to how they do in a safe way. Here we are using digital platform, and it is helping and it is making them industry ready.
Thank you. And Payal, I'm going to come to you because I also want to share a little bit. I've had a 2-hour-long conversation many moons ago with Payal, but we had gone deep into the needs of women who want to access financial independence, how they want to run their own, enterprises or be in the workforces, and everything that comes as the pain point before and after. And I remember that as it's a very pivotal conversation in my mind, and how you feel about it. You've been at it for many, many years. You see a remarkable change, or not so much, because of the entire digital infrastructure that is happening right now. How has it enabled women, or has it not?
So Nagma, it's been so many years we've been working under different initiatives in the rural most possible areas of our country, with children, with youth, with women, and many more sectors. But what Zarina rightly said was, first thing that you need to do is touch the humanity. The technology part comes in a bit much later, but yes, when I sit here and talk today, it is important. And why is it important is because when we are training people, when we are training women, when we are training youth, now to make them acceptable in the industry, to have them employed in the industry, they need to be well versed with the latest technology, the digital aspect. When we as M3M Foundation have to reach to the remotest possible areas of the country, we need technology, right? Especially during the COVID times, I'll go back to the COVID times. Technology came the handiest. Our children that we are supporting in their education, out of school education, after school support, the technology was the only thing that kept us connected, our teachers connected to our children. When we go back to the skilling, the technology is the only thing that, help people learn the most advanced things that are existing in the industries today, and that helps them get placed in the relevant jobs, that helps them start their businesses which are relevant to their regions. But having said that, yes, we need to be really, really mindful. Being on the personal front, being a mother to 2 young boys, I really feel that technology can have its own goods and bads. Yeah. We really, really need to see how is it getting used, in whose hands are we giving the technology, and at what cost the technology comes. So keeping these in mind, I feel it's a vast topic. AI is one more thing, which is exactly what Zarina said. I resonated with her. It is teaching our children everything today, from decision making to smallest of the things that they want to do in their day-to-day lives. I see my boys asking everything to ChatGPT, morning, evening. Mama is available, not available, ChatGPT is available. So they've kind of got, and AI has got access to their personal lives, yes, because they feed in every single thing that's happening. Now going back to the underprivileged sectors, if this kind of an access is given without sensitizing, without educating them, we never know what might happen. It could just, go completely out of hands, because it has its own ripple effects. And we really need to be mindful when we work with communities, when we go to the deep rural segments of our country. We really, really need to be mindful of how technology is given to them. Are they sensitized? Are they educated? The trainers who are, communicating with them on day-to-day basis, are they well versed with it? Yep. But having said that, we cannot really deny that technology is not needed, digitization is not needed. Everything is as important because the world is advancing at a different pace.
Absolutely. And what you said about COVID is true. It's almost strange. There's almost a pre-COVID and a post-COVID, where suddenly COVID made us realize what all is possible. And also, those of us who had access to better tech were able to secure better opportunities in that time and actually make more wealth, get access to more relationships. People were hungry for each other. And those of us who didn't have fallen off the grid, and how.
We taught our community to use Zoom during COVID, as you rightly said. And we thought, the young people are really going to take up these programs, and the men are really going to. The maximum was taken up by women.
Yes, yes.
On Zoom, they all learned how to use.
Now I'm not surprised, but that time I remember we were all really, really shocked by it. Anant, I'm going to come to you. We had met pre-COVID, and you'd extensively, I remember, over a long conversation, spoken about how most of your value chain, your manufacturing chain, has women workers, and how as employers as well as philanthropists, their safety, their security, their experience of working in your facility was very, very important to you. And at that time, you were deliberating a lot. Has tech, I mean, let's go to tech later on. How has it, there's been a massive global crisis in the middle, and we are 3 years later still recovering from many of those repercussions. How has it been for you as an employer and a philanthropist, and how have your employees been?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. I think, just to begin with, I'll share a bit of context for the audience. I think people would understand this, but just to put the conversation, give it some, background so people can relate to it a bit more. But we all know that the fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters, right? And I think we all participate. Everyone buys fashion over here in some way or the other. So the problem with it is that it creates a lot of excess, and these clothes go to landfills. The production of clothing, with fast fashion and ultra fast fashion and everything going on, it has a big environmental impact. And then, of course, the industry also has not the best history when it comes to worker conditions, right? We hear about sweatshops, we hear about how workers are treated. And at the same time, most of the workers in a garment factory tend to be women, right? That's not the case for a lot of other manufacturing, but for fashion industry, it is the case. So I think that, and it's specific to India, we see that after agriculture, clothing manufacturing, textile and apparel, it's the largest employer after agriculture. So this industry has the potential to create a lot of jobs. The industry has been an important engine of growth historically around the world, right? We've seen the UK during Industrial Revolution had a big garment industry, Japan, the US. So the company that I'm part of, Shahi Exports, started by my grandmother, we're a large garment manufacturing company. We have 50 factories. These 50 factories employ about 2,000 people per factory. So we have 1 lakh employees, 70% women. So in the context of this industry and the challenges it has, I've been really interested in thinking about how do we lead positive development through this industry, right? How do we address important environmental issues, but also important social issues through this sector, and taking the learnings from this sector beyond to other sectors also. The other thing I can say is that we all know the large brands around the world, right? And these are brands that Shahi would supply. We're a contract manufacturer. But actually, most of the impact of the industry happens in manufacturing. So if you're a large brand, as big as you may be, the environmental impact you have is in your supply chain, because your operations are basically warehouses and stores, but the real impact is in the manufacturing of the fabric, of the clothing, etc. So that means that a company like Shahi is in a position to actually drive real impact, real change, both through the fact that we employ such a large population, such a large workforce, but we also are controlling the operations that impact the environment. So I think that I'm happy to go into this more and share a lot more details, but broadly what I would say is that when I looked at the ways in which the manufacturing business was trying to grow, in a garment factory, you're trying to optimize every minute, 480 minutes in a day. How do you best use every minute? So it could be the alignment of the chairs, it could be obviously the supply chain, everything. But one thing that I think was being overlooked was people management, right? It's a labor-intensive sector. So how do you drive efficiency through better people management? And that's where I think worker well-being has become such a key part of Shahi's strategy, because there's a lot of ways that you can invest in your workforce and their development, and in turn lead a lot of development, for the country, to be honest. But you can also achieve your business goals. And same goes for the environment, right? There's a lot of negative impacts production causes on the environment, but at the rate we're seeing development happen on environmental technologies, there's also a lot of scope to say, like, we can grow in a more sustainable way. So that's broadly, what my approach is to philanthropy. It's very focused on actually finding the alignment between the business goals and the social goals. But I will say that I think formal sector jobs have a very transformative effect on society, on the country. And I think that if we can bring people from agriculture into the formal sector, the garment industry is sort of a stepping stone. Then you can go into pharmaceuticals and auto and everything else. I think that has a huge potential to lead positive development.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad you mentioned it, because even the last time we spoke, you had mentioned how mainstream manufacturing, mainstream business, just by simply doing what they do responsibly, can impact the lives of their employees. And then that goes also into the philanthropic behavior. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Vinity, you also come from a company that has been very, very instrumental in ensuring that there is, not one, not two, but a series of high impact initiatives. Your CSR is known to be very responsible. You are also amongst a family that is extremely conscious. What are some of the things that you have found are top of priority for the group?
Thank you, Nagma, for the question. I want to start off by saying what a fulfilling experience it has been for me personally to manage all the CSR initiatives for Vinity Organics, which is a specialty chemical company with our manufacturing sites in Raigad and Ratnagiri districts of Maharashtra, and they are both in rural Maharashtra. So we tend to do most of our CSR work around our factories. It creates a lot of goodwill in the community, and it also benefits a lot of our workers' families. In fact, Swadesh has done some groundbreaking work for us in Raigad, and I always keep complaining to Zarina that when will you start working in Ratnagiri so we can start supporting you in Ratnagiri also. And so our Ratnagiri factory managers stop complaining that why is Swadesh only working in Raigad and not in Ratnagiri. But one of the initiatives that is very, very close to my heart is the fact that Vinity Organics was one of the very first supporters of the Revive program. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of migration workers had lost their jobs and had migrated back to their villages without having anything to do, without having any livelihood or source of income. So through one of our partners, we started the Revive program, through which we gave grants to women entrepreneurs in Raigad and Ratnagiri to start their micro businesses without any moral obligation to repay the loan back to us. And after a year, we noticed that 99% of these women had repaid the loan back to us just based on pure ethical values. This allowed us to churn that money and to support another cohort of women in those areas. And this went on and on and on, creating a long-lasting multiplier effect. Through this, we have supported 10,000 women in Raigad and Ratnagiri district, and this is something that I'm very, very proud of.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. So there is one question I want everyone to answer, and I will start with Payal really. With so many years and so many kinds of experiences and many, many lessons, if you had to start your philanthropic journey again today, what is the one mistake you would not make?
That's a tough question to answer, Nagma. The one mistake that I would not make again, probably, I don't think honestly that I have made a mistake. I'll be honest. I think I'm proud of whatever I have done and the way we've implemented each and every program of ours, the steps that we took, the time that we took, going to the local communities, talking to the volunteers, making a team of volunteers, making a team of workers, and then they going to the community. I think I'm proud of every single program, and the latest one that we added to our bucket was Van Jeevan, where we started working with wildlife. And it is a beautiful program. I don't think I want to really change anything. From education to skilling to sports to arts to music, all our beneficiaries love us and they don't want us to leave. Yet they say that, ma'am, we are now independent and I think we can do things on our own. So, yeah, here we are.
I think we recognize our mistake and we've already corrected. And today, I think that's genuinely that we call it a village development committee. You really need to find a more inspiring word for it. But those community volunteers are the heart of Swades. I think we're so, so proud of them. And I think that was one, but there is another one which I would, is that have patience. Just have a lot of patience. And yes, the deeper you go, the more mistakes you are going to make. Correct them as fast as possible and share them as widely as possible so other people don't have to suffer the same way you did.
I think I feel we are very thinly spread into too many areas is what may be a mistake. It's the passion, sports is a passion. So I'm involved myself very much into sports, encouraging sports. And the other thing is health. In that, in a huge way, we are supporting breast health. My daughter is an oncosurgeon and she's also involved very much into this. And, we are screening in many districts. And actually, people are not coming forward for that, cajoling, bringing out. I think a lot of our energies of all of the team members are going for that. And education, schools, skilling. I think I may need more support and spread all these things in, in a proper way, in a more structural way is what I'm thinking.
I think mine is similar to what Uma said. I think we as a company are also too thinly spread across various sectors. So I always tell everyone that we don't really have a sector focus. Going forward, I would like to have a little bit more of a focus. Like so far, we've had a geographic focus, but across various interventions. But going forward, I would like to work with those 2 or 3 organizations where we can be involved, on their day-to-day life, their day-to-day analysis of how they're doing things, their programs. I think we as a company now want to get more involved with the organizations, and that will help us to shortlist those organizations also.
This is a good question. So in 2017, I started a foundation, Good Business Lab. It's a not-for-profit research organization. And a lot of the the lab basically does design and research of the worker well-being programs that I was talking about, right? So some of these were happening in Shahi, in the factories. The factories were sort of a testing ground. But over the years, we sort of expanded into other sectors, other countries, similarly trying to find evidence around which worker well-being programs work. If you're a company and you have $10 million to spend to help your workers, what's the best use of that money, right? That's what we wanted to answer. Create evidence so businesses know how to invest in their workers. I think if I were to go back 2017, what would I do differently? So we relied a lot on, external funding to do our work. A lot of it is research work. You require a lot of money to, create evidence around an intervention. We're doing randomized control trials. So these are, scientific experiments. I think that we relied a lot on external funding. If you look now what's happening around the world, there's been a big shift in how, funding is happening, right? We see what's happened with USAID and so on. And I think that, in support of, what's happening today, I think mobilizing more funds locally, building connections with each other. There's, all of us here are all doing great work, but what would it look like if we supported each other's organizations? Just thinking about that a little bit more earlier on.
You stole my conclusion. No, but yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'd really like to summarize.
Sorry to interrupt you, Nagma, here. So what Anand just said, me and Zareen, in fact, started our discussion today evening with exactly that thought, that, people like us and everyone here in this room, we should look forward to more collaborative ideas, more collaborative thoughts, more collaborative projects, because this is what welfare is all about. Absolutely. And we are all here doing such great work. So the only idea is to come together, have more collaborative efforts, and the result will suddenly grow multifolds.
I refuse to make any conclusion after these beautiful comments. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much for this candor and for your participation. Thank you.